So it's John chapter 1, the first 18 verses. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision, or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John testified concerning him. He cried out, saying, "This is the one I spoke about when I said, 'He who comes after me has surpassed me, because he was before me.' Out of his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known."
Us, because 2026 marks what? Anyone can tell me? 25th anniversary of the Lord of the Rings films coming out. That is right. 25th anniversary of the release of the first one. And so last night, I gathered with my fellow disciples. What is the word? Movie lovers at the Edge Cinema. Anyone else there last night? Your husband's I saw him the other week, and a few guys from the 9 o'clock service were there, and we were there for movie 2. Last week we gathered for movie 1. Next week we'll complete the trilogy, all of which extended editions, which are great. And in the crowd there's different sorts of people. People like me, long-term fans who could say, just come and see it for yourself. Taste and see, try it out. Come and see. And so we're looking at this story of Jesus, and it's told by his mate John. And this is what's going on. John is spending this whole book saying, "I've got something really good for you. It's going to sound too hard, too unbelievable to be too good to be true, but you need to hear it. You need to hear it. Come and see Jesus." And this desire kind of shapes the whole book. It shapes the whole story. Now, there's 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. John's a bit different. It's less of the kind of narrative, this happened and this happened kind of story. That's done by the other guys. John takes a slower look, a deeper look at Jesus, focusing on a few particular signs that he did and the conversations around that. Signs that kind of show you, the signs there so you can see who Jesus is and what he did, however hard it might be to believe. One of the big themes you'll see in John is this idea of witness. People who are eyewitnesses of Jesus, sharing what they saw so that you might believe too. Now, why does John want to tell us this? Why does he want to show us this? Well, he tells us clearly right at the end of the book. John chapter 20. He said, "Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God." Never guessed the ending. He says, "No, this is what I'm going to convince you of." And here we go. He starts with a bang. I'll read again those first few verses. "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word, darkness has not overcome it." Now, if you're here on Christmas Day, you might remember we looked at this passage again then in a bit of depth. And if you remember, we played a game where I said the first line of a movie or a song or a story, and then you told me where it came from. We don't have time to play it again. It was fun. You played over lunch. But if you remember, this is what John's doing here. What's the story that he's referencing as he begins his account? Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning. So he's saying in the beginning was the Word. Everyone thinks Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the story of creation, light and life are kind of breathed into existence as God speaks his words. That's the story they think of when he writes in the beginning. And then he keeps kind of referencing those things. We see light, we see the word, we see those things come up in John's account. So it's a bold move. He's particularly saying to his Jewish readers, you remember our holiest scriptures, of course you do. God's creation of everything, those kind of opening lines of our holy book. Well, what I'm going to tell you now is kind of on par with that, and actually I'm going to explain it even more. That's bold, right? That's gutsy to write that kind of thing. And John says this in this bit. He says, God's word, his creative word, which was there at the beginning, this word is actually like a person of God himself. This word is God who made everything, who created life, who made light, and he was the light. As John writes this story, he calls his first witness, confusingly also called John. You've got to keep them separated, John the writer and John the baptizer. This is the second one. In verse 6, John writes about John. "There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light, he came only as a witness to the light." So there's this guy, John, who's going to be a witness, testify about the light that you might believe. See already this kind of theme of witness? Someone sees it, tells you what they saw so that you might believe. That's the point of the book. And this guy, John, is a witness of something unbelievable. He testifies that this Word, who is God himself, who is light and life, was coming into the world. Verse 9, "The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him." So we're kind of starting to list the unbelievable things John wants you to believe. Number one, this creating word. Oh, did I miss a page? That's right. I updated it on the 9 one. Doesn't matter. We'll get to it later. There's unbelievable things John wants us to believe. Number one, creating this creating word, this light, was going to show up and come into the created world. That's number one. Secondly, when he did this, right, the world that he made was going to reject him. The world he made was going to reject him. Two unbelievable things. How can God enter creation? And if he did, why on earth would it reject him? It's his creation. But he continues, unbelievable thing number 3. "Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children not born of natural descent, nor a human's decision or a husband's will, but born of God." So God coming to the world gives people a choice. They're going to believe or disbelieve. They're going to reject or receive. Believe, disbelieve, reject or receive. And he says here, those who receive, who believe, they get to become children of God. They get to be part of his family in a real way. You think, hang on, people kind of growing up at that time would be like, there's so much gap between us and God. We've got to do the sacrifices. There's the temple. And we can never see God or know him kind of fully. How can man and God be brought that close? So John continues. The Word became flesh. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. And just like those first lines kind of brought back images of creation, I think these lines would make the original readers think of the other big story of their people, the Exodus, the God coming to dwell with his people in the tent, the tabernacle, as they kind of wanted the wilderness and ended up in the promised land. And when it says the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, this dwelling word is that kind of tent, tabernacle, camping with Word. He's come to be with his people. And this idea of glory, again, I think, we saw God's glory descend on the tabernacle. We've heard those stories. But here we see it in Jesus. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We see the glory of God. And it's God's words come to us not as laws carved on stone, but the Word becoming flesh, humanity, the Son of God. The Son of God called to bring others in as sons and daughters. It's Jesus, full of grace and truth. So, unbelievable things that John wants us to believe. One, God has come among us in the flesh. Remarkably, they didn't weren't happy about it. They rejected him, lots of them. But those who didn't became real family, sons and daughters of God. And this work, lastly, is going to be bigger and better than anything in the past. Again, growing up, the law is everything. The people is everything. The stories of Moses and creation, all those things, they're everything. But he says, actually, this is bigger than that. This is a fulfillment of all those things. It's going to be bigger, it's going to be better. Verse 18, out of his fullness, we've all received grace in place of grace already given. Because, God's speaking to his people, talking to Moses, giving them his law. That's gracious. That's gracious act of showing how you got to live life and how you can relate to God. But this is grace on top of that. Jesus brings more. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one's ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. And again, you think, Moses, even Moses couldn't see God. He had to, he was in his presence and ended up so glowing. He had to have a thing over his face. He could see the back of God, but not his face. But here he's knowable. In flesh, we can see the face of God. God's Son, who is God, comes among us. We can see him. We can know his heart. And, I've been using the word Jesus already, but you see, it only turns up for the first time right here. This is recognition here that who this person is. It's Jesus. The law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Now, that was no surprise for us. We knew the stories about Jesus. That wasn't like, whoa, really, it's Jesus. That's a surprise. But I think what we do as we read this bit together, I kind of feel this weight of this one who is the Word and who is light and who is life, who is God, all that beauty and majesty kind of popping up in these two little simple words, Jesus Christ. And you think all that majesty and glory and power funneled into one who came as a baby, right? And grew to be this regular kind of Israelite tradie guy in the back blocks of nowhere a couple of thousand years ago. You think, that's unbelievable. How could a person be all these things? How could a person be all these things? Unbelievable. You look at them. How could all that be in this human, this package? Made me think of these videos I've seen, I think mostly popping up on Facebook. There's this guy, he's a smallish looking guy, dressed as a cleaner who goes around to weightlifting gyms. Anyone seen these videos? Anyway, there's enormously muscular men who are lifting enormous heavy weights. And this guy turns up in his sandals and overalls and was like, sorry, I've got to clean here. Do you mind if I just move your weight so I can clean? And they're all like, you can't move this. You can't move this weight. There's no way. And then he goes over there, just ordinary looking guy, picks up the weights and does a couple of reps just to show off, and then moves it aside and mops. And then he has this like enormously heavy mop, like a 35 kilogram mop, and he gives to the guys, and they're always, ooh. It's very funny. And I'm sure some of it's staged as well. But whatever. The point is, these guys, they don't have to lift their jaws off the floor because this guy has done what they could only do once, and he's done it lots of times. And just the point is, it's all tricks and makeup and whatever. But to look at him, not impressive. To look at him, an ordinary guy, never believe that power would be in him, under him, in there, unless they saw it, right? And even when they see it, they struggle to believe it at times. And it's like that here. We look at Jesus and say, look, really? All those things you say? God with us? That's going to take some convincing. Can't just tell you. We've got to see it. Now, we didn't kind of read the next little bit of of chapter 1, but the story continues, and John the Baptizer continues to testify that, I saw the Spirit of God descend on Jesus. He sees Jesus. He gets it. He believes. He witnesses to the truth of who Jesus is. And then the next day, we'll keep reading in verse 35, John was there with 2 of his disciples. When he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." Come with me, you'll see. They spend the afternoon with him. One of them, at least, is convinced that this could be God's promised rescuer. He invites his brother, Simon, who we get to know as Peter later. He comes also, and he meets Jesus. The next day, verse 43, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee, finding another guy, Philip. He said to him, "Follow me." Come and see. Follow me. Philip then found Nathanael and told him, "We found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nazareth, can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked, and then he gets his quote kept for eternity, and everyone knows he's bagging at Nazareth. But, can anything good come from there? Come and see, says Philip. Come and see. And you've got to read it yourself, what happens in chapter 1, because not long later, Nathanael himself is saying, "Rabbi, you're the Son of God. You're the King of Israel. Even from Nazareth. This is you." And as the story continues, we'll get into it, these people understand these... And as the story continues, we'll get into it, these people understand, these disciples understand more and more of what they're seeing and what it really means that he's the Son of God and the King of Israel. Will it be those who believe or disbelieve? Will those who receive or reject? And so that's what John will keep doing as we go through the book. And the challenge will be for us at each point, what do we think of Jesus? Who do we think this one is? And again, just like John had to choose, I can't put everything in this book. We can't put everything in this sermon series. So this you have to read yourself. Get one of these copies and read it through a few times. There's audio versions. I'll link some on our church email this week. You'll go in growth groups. You'll dive in. You can stray off the beaten path and look at other bits of John. That's fine. But I think this idea of come and see is what we should keep coming back to. How do we come and see Jesus as we go through this book together? I think this idea of come and see is a pretty good theme if we had one for the year. I'm not saying it's the official theme, but I think it could be. Because, Jesus' main mission strategy was come, follow me, see what I do, see who I am. And I think that's our strategy as well. Come and see. Come and see. We want to invite our town and those that we know and love to come and see Jesus. There's only so much we can argue someone into thinking about, what do we believe? There's a point you've got to see Jesus for yourself. You've got to see him for yourself. So maybe that's what we're doing. How will we do that? Or who are we praying for? That they will come and see Jesus also. Now, sometimes we read about Jesus, we see him in action. Two, we sing, we sing the truth of who he is and what he's done. But I think also we see Jesus at work in the body, in you, in our church family. We see lives transformed. We see friendship and love between people who've got nothing in common except Jesus. You see sacrificial service and radical generosity and welcome and acceptance. Some people say, the worst thing about Christianity is Christians. Have people say that? It's kind of true, but I don't buy that here. That's not true here, I don't think. You guys are a great advertisement for Jesus. You really are. And when we stuff it up, well, we have forgiveness, we have repentance, we have the opportunity to see God's work in action there. You see Jesus in this room with these people. Who do we want to come and see Jesus here too? On that little handout I talked about before, there's a calendar and prayer meetings. It's all great. The key bit's this little box in the corner. It says 2 for 2. You think about 2 people you want to pray for a couple minutes a day. Write their names in that box, stick it on your fridge. Remind you, who are you praying that will come and see Jesus? Now you can write their names, put their initials down. Look, it doesn't say you're praying that they would come to know of this. I hope we're praying that our friends will see Jesus, that they'll respond in faith, they'll call God Father, they'll have the hope that we know that they'll call us brothers and sisters with them, that it might have light and life and eternity with us. One of my daughters left a note on my car the other day. They were swinging past with their grandparents and popped down and wrote me a note to be encouraging because she's lovely, and she wrote, "Good job, Dad, doing your job and changing people's eternities," or something like that, saving people's eternities. And I thought that's lovely, and it's not just my job. This is what we get to be part of. And when I think about our plans and our strategies and numbers and whatever, what we're doing is we're dealing with eternity, things of eternity. Who do we want to come and see and have eternity changed for them? I started this morning asking us what we do when we want someone to have that thing that's unbelievably good. Movie, TV show, food, experience, whatever it is. When your words won't cut it, you've got to say, just come and see. Come and see for yourself. That's what we say about Jesus as well. Come and see. Taste and see that the Lord is good. I want to pray this for ourselves. I want to pray this for our town as well.